Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
Their last breath was taken, but the mystery remains. This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, featuring psychotherapist and author Siobhan Scott.
New evidence coming to light in the case of Ellen Greenberg, the school teacher who, it's still reported that it was a suicide, despite being stabbed 20 times, half in the back and the head, and several of them post-mortem. But because there's a lot of people out there like us and others that just keep asking questions and digging, they might have to take a second look at this. News Nation's Brian Enton uncovered some discrepancies in an autopsy report of Ellen Greenberg, raising a lot of doubts about the original classification of her death as a suicide. And in that report, we see bruises. Number one, post-mortem stab wounds should be the biggest red flag, but there's stuff there that was not looked at. This, again, I feel like we keep going back to a very powerful person in this case, end all be all, and a lot of it, the medical examiner. Is this just poor medical examiner work? Because somebody had a long day and they just, checked off the boxes and somebody said, hey, can you do this for me? I don't know. But it seems like that one person held a lot of power here and ignored a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's incredibly, what do we even say? What's the right word for it? It's bizarre. It's incriminating of the medical examiner. It makes no sense. The first time I heard about this case, every red flag. Mm-hmm. Nobody could stab themselves in the back of the head. And as you say, post-mortem, it's wacky. It's one of the strangest cases I've heard.
The prosecutor, as well, Guy DeAndre, was assigned to the case, believes there is no way that Ellen's death could be classified as a suicide, he said now, and noted inconsistencies in the investigation, including the medical examiner agreeing to change the cause of death before it was reclassified as a suicide. How often does that happen? How often are medical examiners going in and going, I think I'm going to change my mind on this?
Yeah, I don't know of any studies on it, but I can't say I've ever heard of a case of that happening. It's as I say, everything about this is bizarre.
A paramedic who responded also speaking out now, describing Ellen's body as cold with coagulated blood, noted her fiancé's behavior and his 911 call, raising a lot of suspicion, which it did. It was one of the weirdest 911 calls I've ever heard. You've heard the 911 call, correct?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
it's been a while, but oh my gosh, she's been stabbed. It was like, oh my gosh, oh no. Can you do CPR on her? Do I have to?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Why was he never looked into more? This just seems, from a psychological standpoint, a lot of red flags here.
Oh my God, huge. That was the first place when I heard about this case. That was the first place my mind went. Number one, you always look at the romantic partner, Yeah. That person, whoever it is, should be examined very closely. And it makes no sense that they never even went there.
Again, he's a free man. He has never been charged with anything. He's off living his life somewhere else. If they do start looking into this, I would imagine he'd be a person they'd want to talk to.
Yeah.
I'd imagine this could disrupt his life quite significantly if they actually do get a chance to look into this deeper. He does seem to have just kind of skirted off into the night to live a new life and has been very quiet, never did interviews, never talked about this publicly. And basically anyone who's had, the gall to question it, they've gotten kind of litigious at them of, we don't want to talk about this. Hell, I'll tell you what, we put this on YouTube. It's not going to get a lot of views simply because the term Ellen Greenberg doesn't track. There has been, and I've noticed this in other cases. There's a lot of cases we can put out there, gets plenty of views. Ellen Greenberg specifically, I swear to God, there's a censor on it. And there's a lot of other people out there who have reported on this very case who have said the exact same thing. When you put it out there, it doesn't track. It just doesn't get any sort of traction with it. And it's not that there's not interest there. It's just the algorithms somehow say, That's a bad word, Ellen Greenberg. And I get other words. It's as big of a headache to me as anything, because I feel like we're just trying to share the truth about situations or information. But her name is almost like flagged as a bad thing. That's spooky, because it tells me that there's some sort of connection almost higher up into some of the search companies, into some of the hosting companies, into, I wouldn't say YouTube, Google, things of that nature, where let's try and tamper this down. Certainly you can find information on the case, but there's something odd about this one.
Yeah, the algorithms are really hard to figure out. And I do think that there are agendas behind them that, again, that lack of transparency, we don't really know why.
Yeah. There's so many weird questions with this thing, so many things that do not make any sense. Clearly, a reason to not want to look into it further. I'm sure, if I were the fiance, I wouldn't want people looking at me either, especially if you didn't do anything.
Right.
I can see being like, yeah, great, let's let this kind of die down over here. I'm not going to say anything. But certainly, too, if you did have something to do with it, not saying he did, but people not paying attention, also a big, boon for you if for some reason you can try and throw people off this case.
Yeah.
The thing is, we've never seen any alternatives to this. There isn't any names that have been brought up who might have wanted to hurt this woman. The only person we end up having that was close to Syl, and not saying he wanted to hurt her, is the fiance, Samuel Goldberg. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, one of the weirder stories.
Yeah, listen to that 911 call, everybody, if you want to get a better perspective on it. Just answer some questions. I think that's all anybody really wants. Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
You're neck deep in a dark, twisted tale, and just as the tension peaks, bam, a commercial about some miracle diet pill breaks the spell. It's like finding a fly in your soup after the first bite. But here's the fix. True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. You get to enjoy your crime stories without the junk. Ad-free episodes, extended interviews that go beyond the surface, and early access to all the gruesome details. It's like swapping out a can of cheap beer for a glass of fine whiskey. So search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and keep the darkness flowing uninterrupted.